Welcome to the February 2012 Radnor Township Shade Tree Commission meeting. We have 3 plan reviews on the agenda for tonight. The first one being 8 Quintero Road. To the representation for that, please step forward to the podium, identify yourself.
My name is Ken Casella.
And Ken, you're with Chester Valley?
I am not. I'm the builder for Dean Janukas.
Okay. Okay. Do you have a plan set?
I do, yes.
Can you put that on the table there, and they'll project it onto the screen? Okay, great. And if you could describe the nature of your project?
Okay. Sorry. Demolishing a single-family dwelling and then constructing a new home. Presently, there are no trees to come down. Sill fence and safety fence is in place. I believe the grading permit has been issued.
Okay. Give us a chance to catch our breath and review.
Sure.
Where's dirt coming from? The foundation?
Right now, I believe there is some dirt to leave the site, and that we would just, truck from the site. The way the grading permit was submitted, it is a balanced site, but I do believe that there will be some fill that will be removed from the site.
All right. You're not taking any away from any of the trees, huh?
I'm not, no. The only trees that I really had seen that that I was concerned about, or that are substantial in any way, would be on the left-hand side of the property. There's a pretty decent-sized tree here, and then also on the right-hand side of the property. But there's no grading issues with that one. My main concern would be the front right, where the sewer line goes through that one particular tree. I'd love to try to keep that sewer line away from the root system if at all possible.
Is that sewer line existing?
It is, to a certain extent, yes. So I think if I could go up to the clean out and just redirect it a little differently on that plan, that I think would be better. I'd be a little closer to the seepage bed. But otherwise, all the other trees on the site are pretty insignificant and not really in great shape. There's really nothing that's getting impacted. So I just thought if we could redirect it a little bit from the clean out and take it in a little closer, that would be beneficial for that tree there.
You have a dotted line showing on your thing that's not on this map. This is not. Are you on the same page?
I am on page 2. Just where it says vent, I just thought if we redirected from where it says vent, and came in, or even take it out to the street and redirect it, depending on what condition the line's in when we excavate it anyway. I'm not sure what the condition that's going to be.
Now, are you taking the entire thing and redoing it?
Right now, we're probably taking it out to where it says vent, which is probably 20 feet inside from the curb.
Okay, but from the vent out to the curb, it's going to stay.
Would probably most likely stay if it's in good condition.
And everything else is new?
Everything else would be new.
Yeah, 8-inch double and a 40-inch maple.
40?
Yeah. Were there a couple trees on this lot prior in the front?
I'm not personally aware of any, but I really have only been in this process for probably the last 6 or 8 weeks. The job was put out to bid and we were awarded the bid, so I really haven't seen a lot prior to that.
Because the neighbor used to own this lot.
Okay. I'm really not aware of the origin or who owned it prior. From what I've seen there, from being on the lot, and I set all the safety control measures there wasn't any activity that I've noticed there, other than it seemed like there was maybe some shrubbery cut down, but I'm not really aware of any other trees that were taken down, nor did I notice anything on this plan, I'll say that. I mean, there's a couple X's on the back right-hand side of the lot there, but I'll be honest with you, I didn't really notice anything there. And that would be on page 1, I believe they were 2 X's, kind of like the back right-hand side, but there's a fence line there. I really didn't notice anything there when I was out there. There's 3 marked on the left-hand side there, too, but I don't really think there's anything. I don't even think that's trees. It says spotlights on hers. What's that? Yeah, spotlights. I don't even think that's trees.
What's the line with all the black dots?
One more time. Limit of disturbance. So that limited disturbance right now, there's tree protection put around an entire area, marking it off, or let's say keeping it as that limit enclosed, correct?
I do have one question. The sanitary line, is that existing or is it running along? Or you say it's existing there? You're going to tear it up and replace it?
I'm saying I believe it's existing because there is an existing house that's coming down. So normally we're tapping into that existing lateral. So I believe that is a condition.
The thing is that right above where the dotted line meets.
I see what you're saying, yeah. That
that
there's
great
like
big
one
tree.
shown there and then there's one above there.
Yeah, but there's a huge tree right next to it. And I was just wondering if you could reroute.
That's it. I really think it could be done. Where I would almost wonder if we couldn't just get closer to the seepage bed, which I have, kind of lined out here.
Oh, that's a seepage bed.
That's a seepage bed there. If we couldn't just get closer to that stormwater management bed there and just hug that a little closer, if I stayed on the edge of that, I believe we would, really wouldn't impact that tree in any way.
Could you move that seepage bed
A little bit further up the hill, let's say.
to your driveway area?
I don't see why. I personally don't see why not. They've done test pits in there to, to calculate the perk. I can't imagine that the soils would change that dramatically, just shifting that thing 10 feet.
I think it might be more than 10. I would get as close to the driveway as you possibly can.
I mean, I would wonder either A, could we do that, or could we just take the sanitary line and come up over the other side of that and just, just come to the left of the seepage bed instead of to the right of the seepage bed? Because sometimes moving that, it might require another perk, let's say, to get that done. But, for me to take that soil line just across the front of there and come up, I can't see why I couldn't do that.
Right. It looks like that seepage bed, though, is within the drip line of the trees. The way it's drawn.
It does look like it is, yes. Whether it actually is, I don't really believe it is, because when I staked out the safety fence, I think it's a little deceptive how he has that drawn out. I don't believe it actually is. Because I had to put the fencing around there, and I did put the fencing around that tree, and I tried to stay to the outside edge of that drip line of the tree when I set them, and both did not meet.
But it's a 40-inch maple, and you're within 20 feet of the trunk at the edge of the seepage line, right? The seepage bed?
You know what? Let me just...
It's a 1 in 20.
I'm going to say that... Without a roar, I'm going to say it looks a little bit more than that, but it felt more than that in the field. I'll say that it didn't seem that close when I was out there. It felt like it was had a little more of a buffer zone than that.
What it feels like and what it looks like on the plan.
Yep, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, I can't imagine why that seepage bed couldn't, again, if we shifted it, even if we kept the, if that seepage bed slipped up the hill a little bit to get away from that drip line, if indeed it is getting impacted there, I can't imagine why that would be a problem.
How much would you have to shift it to get it outside the drip line?
I'm going to say it looks like it's probably 15 feet, something like that. If this is accurate, it's probably 3/4 of an inch would be, be that 15 feet. Has not, no.
Can you explain the grade changes that are about to take place or proposed to take place?
Right-hand side of the house, I'm going to say it gets filled up approximately, I believe it's 2 foot of fill there. I believe the existing grade line coming through there is 550, and overlapped on top of that, the new grade line is 450, and the other one is 452. Up on the left-hand side, where you get to that other patch trees there, again, a little fill, but it's only a change of about a foot. I'm saying almost to the left-hand side of the swimming pool. 50-inch maple is up there midway on the left-hand side, yes. Correct, yes.
So underneath a 50-inch maple, you're suggesting you'll be putting at least a foot or two of soil on top.
I'm going to say, if you look right at 454, right underneath there is 455, so that's a slight cut. And then I'm going to say it's 455. It's ever so slight adjustment in the grade lines there. If you see where 455 is, they're really close. It's showing an adjustment, but it's really minor.
Well, it might be minor in your sense, but with a 50-inch tree, you're going to be into its root system. Especially maples, they're very surface rooted to begin with.
Where that is on that maple, right now I do have the maple completely fenced off at the drip line. But, there is going, the way it's showing, it is a slight impact there. I'm not personally aware how sensitive, that particular one is, but I don't believe that it would be a huge impact on it.
Well, you're talking a foot of soil, right? Adding a foot of soil, and you're within probably 12 feet of the trunk of the tree. That would have impact on the tree. That is what our concern is.
Yeah.
And that's what's shown on the map, I think.
I'm going to say that the impact is probably closer to probably 25 foot out from the base of the tree there, where I'd be adjusting anything.
Yeah, you're still into its root system.
I personally don't see why the 455, if you felt it was detrimental in there, couldn't be swung out. I don't see why that thing couldn't swing out a little bit wider there.
It's whether you can maintain the grades you need for the pool.
Everything's really falling somewhat left to right and more towards the front, so I don't really see it as a huge, swale in there by any means. And I just think, again, if that 455 does want to come out, because nobody wants to hurt the tree, including me as a builder, so we would try to avoid that even if it's showing it, that we would probably just try to swing that line out a little bit more and get it closer to the pool. So I really think the impact on that tree would be absolutely minimal. At this time, I am personally not even doing the pool.
When do they expect the pool to be constructed?
If it was getting done, it would be by the homeowner. So I can't say if he would be planning on that immediately after. But if it was, again, if you felt it was, I'm not even sure. I've never had to, as a builder, go through the process of the Shade Tree Commission because we're typically doing, single lots. But again, if it was a matter of changing that grade line or trying to make sure that, if it was a matter of just changing that, I don't see the big, the problem with doing it. I really feel that swale could be maintained by, just redirecting that thing a little bit.
My concern is that if we look at this and we say yes, whatever now, when they're going to construct a pool, will they have to come back to us? Or is this the last opportunity this group has?
I think they'd have to come back because they're going to be disturbing more soil. There's what?
if it doesn't hit 300 cubic yards, we don't even see it.
You won't see it.
So if you want the grade to change, make it a condition to change it.
All right.
Yeah, the way it's drawn, I'm not convinced that just moving the swale where you're talking about, it almost seems like the pool needs to be moved, is it eastward? I guess eastward or towards the top of the plan. Would that be possible? That would then take it further away from the tree and therefore, so moving the pool away from that 50-inch maple.
I mean, would it be possible? I think anything's probably possible in that, to a certain degree. It would just be a matter of them changing that patio configuration a little bit if they needed to.
So I think that would then take it out of the drip line if it were drawn. So, because as long as the tree protection fence could be drawn so it's outside the drip line, and then the pool design and whatever grading's needed outside the drip line, it would seem to me to be an all right situation then.
I think, in my opinion, that this house is too wide for this lot with the trees that he's trying to save. And the sequencing of the pool building is going to be imperative, because the ideal would be to get the pool in prior to the foundation being dug, or else we're going to destroy the remaining roots on the bottom side, and we're going to have egress on the top side of these evergreens. So I think you need to be accountable for all the trees here, because there's no way he can sequence it like this without doing considerable more damage later with the grade changes and the retention basin where it is. I mean, I wouldn't mind just going out to look at these trees to see what kind of condition they are first, if that is possible.
The evergreens are a little ratty. Most of the trees that were on the perimeter seem to be a little on the ratty side. As far as the sequence goes, no matter what, even if you're going to do the pool, you would do the foundation first, so you would still use the same pathway in there as far as doing the pool that you would use even after you were done the house. But I think, again, like from what I've seen out there, I don't disagree. I think that one line, we need to stay out of that one area there, which I think would easily be able to be done. And if that seepage bed can slide down, I don't think it's the worst idea.
Is there any chance of turning the pool 90 degrees?
I think you would get into a lot more cuts by doing that due to just the nature of the grades there. So I think it would be better off just trying to reconfigure the patios instead, because I don't think it would take much to be able to accomplish what they're trying to do there. Pitching the pool decking away and getting that little swale to run around it. So I don't think it would be that difficult if they just either pulled it back a little bit and slid it to the right a little bit to give you what you needed. I think turning it the other way, you'd get into a lot more removal of dirt into that bank area there as you're starting to cut into 454 and 455.
Yeah, but it seems to me if you ran your pool more east and west than north and south, you're going to be out of the drip lines of most of the significant trees there.
I really don't believe it, not to be argumentative in any way, but just to slide that over to the right, I don't think it would harm anything and would keep them the same orientation that they're looking at here. because I think if they go east and west the way you're saying, I think as far as the homeowner is concerned, he's trying to keep, some play yard for his kids, things like that, and I think that would disrupt that. So I don't think it's something that he would look forward to.
Okay, I think I'm going to default to Jim's suggestion that we should probably have an opportunity to look at the trees on the property and determine their health.
Okay.
A 50-inch maple and a 40-inch maple, and you've really not defined what type of maple they are. That could sway our decision as to how this should go. So I would recommend we table this until we have an opportunity for a site visit.
Okay. So in the meantime, while you were doing that, then we could look into, moving that seepage bed, see what it would take to move that thing out to, to accommodate that, front tree there, and even look at, slipping that pool over to, down the hill a little bit more to get it away from there and see if that would make you happy also. Okay. So as far as a visitation, when would it be that you typically would go out and site visit? How long after?
Typically, it's within a couple weeks of this meeting.
Okay.
We figure out our schedules and are able to contact with a representative and meet you on site.
Great. Sounds good.
Okay.
You'd have an answer by next time around?
Yeah.
Next meeting? That's the important thing.
Okay, so it would be next time, so you would visit in between the next, this and the next meeting, and make the decision on the next meeting then?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds
Okay,
good.
thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, 1430 County Line Road.
Okay, hi. Tom Bentley, good to see you again.
Likewise.
I can go through the whole history of everything that we've done here before, or I can just kind of go to the last meeting where you asked me to negotiate. Do you want to do it quick, or do you want to do it long? I'll do it long.
Why don't you give us just a real brief summary?
Okay.
Yeah, and then we'll go into what.
Our first meeting, this is the plan that we brought in. And this was just a kind of a conceptual plan, and at that time we told you about the predominance of Norway maples, and that we had been before the township and the neighbors a number of times. Then we came back with an actual, okay, here it is, plan where we actually did a survey, and we had about 137 replacement trees, and we went over that whole thing with the trees that we were replacing that were over 20 inches, the maples over 20, and the ones below we were not replacing. And at that time, you asked us if we could do more. And I said yes. I thought that there were a number of trees that I was personally going to try and save along the county line road that I wanted to save, but they would be trees that had maybe a sewer line running near the drip line, maybe a water line. And we thought that by, flipping some houses and doing some driveways, we could possibly save some more trees. And in addition to that, we said we would add 5 additional shade trees throughout the community. And we have that plan, which you're probably looking at right now, but that is this plan. I'll go into detail about the this area here, which is all these mature shade trees we've been saving. But basically, what we did is the large rings show where they're going to grow to and what the eventual shading will be. The orange trees, the orange dots, are the areas that we found where we could plant some shade trees that would mature and fill in some spaces that weren't already filled in. But you can see by the large rings, in a number of years, this site's going to be very forested. So we wanted to make that clear. As far as the County Line Road goes, we spent a lot of time on this, and we flipped. I don't know if it's going to be hard to do. Okay. Well, if you can see, this shows a detail of that. Yeah. From the original plan, we flipped this driveway and this driveway, and basically we field measured every one of these trees as to where they were, and there's like 17 shade trees in there that are a pretty good size, and we basically figured ways that we could squeeze the sewer and the water lines. The water is in blue, Joe? Yeah, and the sewer is in red. And what we've done is we have a couple places like right here on lot 3 where we're running a little close here. We're running a little close here, but as I said, I've had great success in the past with trimming roots that have been cut with snippers and really getting a nice clean cut on them and giving them some extra water. So we think we've done what you've asked us to do. We took out some of the street trees that we had previously shown that were township required street trees because it would be kind of superfluous to do it. So that's pretty much what we've done. I mean, see if I forgot anything.
You also manipulated the contours. You brought the contours.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, one of the things we did besides flipping houses is we forced a couple contours so we would not have to cut or fill in this front area here. So that's pretty much what you were just talking about in the last presentation. Yeah, so at this point we have added we've saved 17 trees that weren't on the last plan. We're doing 142 replacement trees, and there's 25 township trees. So I think I'm doing as good as I can do.
Okay, thanks. We'll stew on it a little bit.
This is the tree that we replaced. This is what we had. The swamp.
Okay, okay. Bring my color one up here?
Yeah, I think, yeah, why don't you bring the color one up here? This black and white is a little more.
This is most of what we did right here. This took a lot of time.
Why don't you take this creature?
So, right along here, these, we actually went in, we weren't saving any of these, so we went in and measured each one of these and with a tape measure. Mm-hmm. And then we came and plotted them on the plan, and then we're not doing any grading in those areas. And that really nice sycamore that I talked about is right there. And that's the one that I knew I could save it, but I just, I didn't want to promise I was going to save all these trees if I didn't think I could. But, we are, this is a technique I've used many times, and my thought is, I'll try and save the tree. I may lose a couple of trees, but I'll save, 15 trees. I don't think I'm going to lose any of these, though, frankly. Joe, the shade tree that you, these rings, how many years is that?
That's at maturity.
Maturity, that's at maturity.
And then is the replacement schedule shown on one of the plans?
It's already on the plan, so.
Yeah. It's the same as this right here, but there you go. Yeah. Do you have the listing of how many trees of what calipers are coming down and how many are then required to be replaced? I think we showed you that last time, didn't we?
And do you have that here tonight? Yep.
No, if I remember correctly, away from County Line Road, most of those other trees, how many of those are existing to be retained, or are you mostly taking them down?
I can barely hear you. What?
On the rest of the site, not the ones right adjacent to County Line Road, are most of the trees that are on the plans existing, or they're going to mostly be planted in the future? Just like right there.
The ones that are dark green on this plan are ones that are existing that we're going to save.
Okay, so the vast majority of what's there is going to
Yeah,
be planted.
but I really wish that the board could have gone and looked at the site because it's disgraceful.
Oh, I've been there.
Yeah, okay. Oh, well, then you know.
There are a lot of trees.
Yeah, a lot of
And some of them-
half-dead trees.
I was going to say that not all of them are in excellent health.
Yeah, well,
And I'm on this commission, but I'm a representative of planning, and so I'm not exactly an expert in trees, and even I can tell that some of them have seen better days.
yes.
I'm still not, your numbers don't seem to calculate. You have 217 trees to be removed And the numbers, but I don't see what the 217 are because there are only there are only about 100 that are listed.
I'll let my tree guy answer that question.
It's in the report that we gave you at the last meeting.
So, could we see that?
We gave you all a copy of it at the last meeting. It's a pretty exhaustive report.
But all I'm asking for is a sheet of paper that gives the calculations. How many trees?
The calculation was that anything that was above 20 inches, we counted for replacement in a Norway maple, and that every other tree that was.
And it still doesn't. This is what you're saying, and that I still don't understand it. So.
That is for the Norway maple.
Right. So I'd like to know how many total trees are being removed above 6 inches caliper.
You know,
217.
when we met the last time, if we can just go back to the last time we met, I thought we were in agreement that you had asked me to go back and negotiate and add some shade trees, which I did, and save some existing trees, which I did. And at that point, I thought we were.
So it was to be a one-sided negotiation?
No, that was.
So I'm asking for the calculations of what would be called for this site.
Okay, and I thought that you guys had reviewed them. Do you want to address this somewhere?
I don't have a good enough memory to remember from 1 month to another what you've said.
We can send you another copy.
So why don't we review it next month?
I'd rather not. I mean, I don't. But
I don't have the information to make a decision tonight.
we gave you the information. This is our third meeting.
So why didn't you bring it?
Because at the time, okay.
So I don't have enough information to make a decision tonight. I'm only one member of the committee.
Okay, well, maybe the other members are okay with it. I don't know what, I mean.
You have done.
We did an exhaustive
No, you have done
amount of detail here for a site that has terrible trees on it, and this is going to look 10 times better. We've done exactly what you asked us to do, and now because you haven't read the report that we gave you last time that I spent $3,000 doing, you don't want to give me an approval. I thought what the chairman said was that if you gave us some more shade trees and we saved some more shade trees, that we're going to be okay. And that was the negotiation. I thought we had the negotiation.
Yeah, I think, and I agree with Bill, from 1 month to the next, we don't remember all the details. And that's why I asked you to give us a refresher before we went into this. And I understand Bill's concern. What would the actual formula be if there was no exception regarding the Norway maples? And I respect his inquiry, and it's, yeah, you probably gave it to us, but we don't remember what it was. And until that number is provided,
Do you think it might be in the packet that you have right there that we already gave you?
I don't.
So what would the board have me do now? So I'll supply you another copy, or do you want to find the copies we gave? I know we gave you like 5 copies.
This sheet does not give the information that we need to have.
That was just a summary sheet. That really is.
So all we need is a summary sheet that gives the actual information. This doesn't give any information. You can't figure out any of the calculations from it. We've never approved a plan that somebody hasn't submitted that in at the night that we're approving it.
So you wouldn't have that on record anywhere, would you? I'm sorry.
Well, this is John, isn't this basically a summary of the 25, 30-page report that we gave them?
No, it is not. It's a summary of the Norway maple showing them the calculations of the 217 trees in total, including Norway.
Can you just give them a quick summary of why?
I can't, I mean, I know what Bill's asking for. We can't give it off this sheet. I need the report.
Okay.
So we have 217 trees.
Yeah, I think what Bill is asking for is if it wasn't for the Norway maple exception, what would the normal, what would the replacement formula actually be?
Well, how many Norway maples are there? Oh, the 217.
78 over 20 and 22.
78 over 20 inches diameter.
No, 98 total Norway maples throughout the site. Actually, we can probably do the math there a little bit, figure it out there. It would be 217. It would be, with the calculations of the DBH, it would be 295 trees built to be replaced. I discredited the 20-inch and below Norway maples, so if we were calculating them back into the compensatory replacement, it would be an additional 78 trees, which would bring our total calculation up to 295.
217 it includes the Norway maples or does not include Norway maples?
Can we zero in on that a little bit?
Here you go, John.
That is it, yes.
Thank you, Sue.
We have the 217 total trees. Right. The 20-inch DBH and less, we discredited, not to be replaced. They're all 20 inch. There's 78 of those. The 20-inch is the one-for-one replacement, one tree, at 2.5 inch. Then you had 70, which is 295. Total trees, if we were forgetting about the Norway maples.
And then with the calculation, the way you did it, excluding the Norway maples, how do you come up with your calculation?
I subtract the 20-inch DBH, there's 78 of those, I subtracted that out, which brings us to...
But how many are there total of the between 23, 6-inch and 23?
217.
I thought there were 217 trees total.
217 trees total,
Right. So how many are
Correct.
between 6 inches and 23 inches?
78. Because there's a tree right there. 6 and 20 inches. 6 and 23, these are all 20 inches and greater. So they
Okay.
would be
And are
still-
the 78 Norway maples or are they the not Norway maples?
They're Norway maples.
Okay. So how many?
78.
So how many trees between 6 inches and 23 inches that are not Norway maples exist on the site?
It'd be 65.
Okay. And then how many trees on site that are not Norway maples between 24 and 35? So there are 85 trees that are not Norway maples that that would have the replacement of 2, 4. Okay, so that'd be 170,
And then the rest would be,
and then 65,
correct.
and then
And then the heritage trees, the 5.
yeah, without
I know what you're asking.
right. So I'm asked. So you gave the calculation without the Norway maples. I mean, with the Norway maples, and then I'm asking the calculation without the Norway maples.
Without
And
the
my-
Norway maples would be 295, because they're
Okay.
20 inches or greater, so it would be 295. If we forgot about the Norway maples
Okay.
and included them back into the compensatory replacement, we'd have to replace 295 trees. There's 78 trees that are 20 inch and greater or less. 20 inches in diameter or less. They're Norway maples. I discredited them out of the company.
Right. So if you took all the Norway maples out, what is your...
20 inches and less.
Right.
Because the ones that were 20 inches and greater, I included them.
Okay.
Because I felt that in their size, they should still be included.
Yeah.
In fact, even though they're Norway maples, we still included them.
So what Bill is asking is what between that 6 and 23 that are not Norway maples are being pulled out? And are they being properly compensated for?
You're talking about these ones right here, these 22. Because the math is right there. I understand the question, but the question is, the answer is 78. And then if the Norway maple's 20 inches and greater, like it says in my report, we replaced one tree for those 20 inches because it is an invasive. I think that might be what you're asking. I mean, the math is right there. I mean, it's...
The math is not there in a clear way that I'm understanding it. So if the rest of the commission is understanding it, then that's fine. But I am not understanding this. So
We need to know the replacement number for all the trees except between 20 inches and 6 inches of the Norway maples. We need to know how that adds up. So could you do that number for me? How you got to just take all the trees that are coming down.
Yep.
Disclude.
do you need this?
Do not include Norway maples between 6 and 20.
Correct.
Add them all up, all the way up.
Okay.
And that's the number we need to say, that number. And if it jives with the number that you have for your replacements there.
We can do that right now with the total. There's 217 minus 78, correct?
78 trees
In-
Not including
between
the Norway
6 and
maples.
20.
Yes.
So if you'd instead, the way...
6 and 20. This is between 6 and 20.
78.
Yes, correct.
Okay, what I'd like to see, what we always ask for is a replacement plan. So trees between 6 and 23 inches that are coming down. So how many are there? So don't say, take this number from this number, just give me the
I'll make
number.
sure I don't have that in here, though.
Okay.
No, I understand what you're asking for, but I thought the last meeting we did the same for 3 now. All broken down.
And so where does it show me how many trees between 6 and 23?
There's 6. I broke it down even further, except I gave you first total quantity for I went over the normal request. I give you actually the number of species, the size. There's 14 10-inch trees. There's 1 10-inch mulberry tree. 10.5, 1 tree, 10.5. I broke it down so every year. I can have that very quickly. Or do you want to, I'm not going to see it. I thought it'd be easier to see this.
I mean, this is great, but all we need now is a total. no place that I see where you've done the calculations, where they're explaining.
Okay, of this includes no maintenance or does not? Yes, sir. Okay.
So out of this inventory, we took out anything that was in our maintenance, which is,
This,
on this page right here, we have a total of 217 trees.
that's including or excluding?
That's everything included.
All right.
Trees to be removed.
So
And 78 of those.
Total here is this 217.
Right.
So this does include the noise.
Correct, correct. This number includes, out of that 217, 78 of them are lower maples, that are 20 inches and less than 6 inches. To kind of spread it out of the whole house. 22 of those, out of 217 total trees, are lower maples greater than 1 inch.
17?
22.
22.
22 of those trees, which is still part of that 217. 5 of those trees are hardwood trees greater than 36 inches. If we take out house for replacement of 78 trees, we have a total of 137 trees based on this formula developed by the Radnor Township Shade Tree Commission, which says 6 inches for 3 to replace 1 tree, 2 trees to 2 trees and so forth.
But what it doesn't do is it doesn't show how you got to the 137 from that. So I think all you have to do is do your sum here minus 78 times 1. And then the sum here times 2. And then the sum times 3. That's the
Fine.
that's the theory.
Want to do that while we go on to the other one? We can wrap it up. This is-
This is too much detail.
Must be done sometimes.
Well,
Just trying to make it clear.
I think they like to see is
But do we,
So I would recommend we down slide based on that. Okay, and sends it to the township. Sue shares it with us. And then for you,
I look at one, right there. They just want to see this. Instead of doing what they really asked for, that is to the tilt. They're not even gonna like us.
Bill, would it make sense while you're waiting for the next person for me to do this quick calculation for you?
Go ahead and make it anyway. Yeah.
he does want a decision tonight.
It just needs fewer trees at the entrance.
The better soils you have, the more compact the footprint of your filtration is. It's going to be much, you don't want to leave all the exception value. Plans before, the rate changes in 2010.
Why does it say 23? It's only said something about 23.
Well, that's the population issue. But the size is not really much. It's all so it doesn't. They're reading and they're to back. How we really.
So that's why I wanted to see the calculation. Just to see the difference between the two.
You know what, whole house.
And we want to see the comp on the ones that are 20 inches and the ones after.
The real strength of that project is this whole
One tree for two town.
They're going to make good replacements down there.
That's a discussion.
So
Yeah, right.
I just see that. Basically, trying to do 60-20, 60-20.
That's the bypass is something.
And 65, right? 78 to come over.
Township.
That's what he said. And then there are 22 that are Norway maples that are 20 inches wide. Versus 20 inches over.
I'd take it. I'd like to intrigue somebody, you know, say it.
I don't know how many.
And I remember that car, so I take the bypass. And I had to pack me behind it. It's not really savings of time. It's bypass stores. It's a good store up there.
You can figure this out.
Well, he's figuring out, you don't need to figure that out. Our question is, do we require them to
Split the traffic, I've seen a lot.
for
Jams before. We were thinking it was one of those wise.
I would just say one
Those
better.
are over 20.
All that land is going to be
He's
developed.
including
Where
his code.
it's like mine,
The one
it's
below
bypass.
that 20-inch building, that is, and it comes to 70 something. 78, and he's getting, not doing, actually staying reserve, not doing.
Yeah.
So the issue is whether or not we should replace
Something. Not one for one, or maybe.
one tree for each two. Exactly.
Right, so that was what I threw out. Maybe it would be one tree for two. Just so we do. I'm sorry?
That's consistent with the ordinance.
No, that would be a decision by us. The ordinance would be a straight that they would have to replace it.
And Potter's had some.
One for one.
Yeah.
Because we wouldn't want to go on. He said, install it.
Just take it.
You're setting precedent, you've spoken.
Need some work.
Now, if you're-
Archbishop County High School. Building sidewalks.
There are, of the 217 trees, 143 are 6 to 10 inches. And they have to be replaced one for one. And 143 it's 217. There'll be 74 trees total that are less than 20 inches of over. They have to be replaced two for one? One and a half for one?
It's basically.
So if 74 times 48. So you should put in 291 trees. He's taking out 217, putting 291. So because
We have had a little chat up here. We're sorry to ignore everybody for the past 15 minutes. We are going to have to table this until next month. We have some questions among ourselves that we need to resolve, and we cannot resolve them in unity tonight. And I'm sorry to express that, but that's the issue. And it resides around the Norway maple issue. That is not addressed in the ordinance. And we need to make certain that something is done with the ordinance that provides that kind of relief. And for us to sit here tonight and suggest that we can just make an exception like that is beyond the ordinance's rules.
Okay.
It's not that we're not in favor of providing relief for invasive species, but sitting here tonight, we can't come to conclusion as to how that should be done. We will do something, but I can't guarantee you right here and now what that decision will be. But we will have a decision by next month.
Okay, well, I guess the only thing I'd like to say is if you just look at my, what I have on display right now, at some point I over-tree the property. And I think that I've been building houses long enough to know that, people love their lawns as much as they love their houses. So, and we did go to great lengths to save all the trees on County Line Road. It was a lot of time and energy. And I thought that was the kind of final thing you were looking for. But when I would ask you to just go look at the site and look at the condition it's in instead of just driving by. Just walk out there and look at the site. It's really it's a mess. I mean, some of the 20-inch trees that we're counting go sideways. I mean, they don't even grow straight up in the air. And so I think a site visit I'd be glad to meet anybody out there anytime. We'll go a long ways to demonstrating, kind of how our theory was developed.
Yeah, no, I completely understand, and I'm very familiar with the site. So, I mean, I would recommend we do a site visit, but this is a precedent issue that we need to be careful about. So that's why we need to get all our arms around the same thoughts.
I thought there was, I heard there was talk about just eliminating the Norway maples completely, not having any compensatory for them because they are invasive.
Yeah, that is not an official part of any, of the shade tree ordinance. And then it not only becomes a Norway, this is where the conversation led here while we were thinking aloud together. It's not just a Norway maple issue, it becomes any invasive species issue. And then how much canopy can be reduced without any compensatory planting. We need to get our heads around that.
Okay, I understand that. The only thing I would say is I don't want reasonableness. If you didn't have this new ordinance coming up, you could probably be reasonable with my project and make some reasonable decisions about the health of the future community. I don't want to be held up because an ordinance is coming and I have to wait for that ordinance to be approved. I mean, I have constraints that I'm under myself, and we've been exhaustive meetings with the Planning Commission and the neighbors, and I just don't want to see the thing go on forever. It is R4 zoning. We could have had 17 homes on the site. If we had had 17 homes, I couldn't even give you the trees that I'm giving you right now. There wouldn't be room for them.
Right. No, I understand. I've worked with you before, and I respect your work in the township, and we'll do our best to come to a conclusion for you.
Okay, is there anything we need to do?
That math would still help.
Okay, would you?
Yeah, and if you would simply email that to Sue, and Sue will share it with us, and that'll help clarify that issue.
I have a related question. What is your timeline for this? What is the? I mean, I run projects for a living, and obviously they have starts and end and delays.
I own the property. I've owned the property for 6 months.
I don't mean that.
Well, my timeline is as quickly as I can get started. When you own the property, it's a little different than having a contingent property.
I know. I mean, obviously, construction works better if you do it in the summertime than in the wintertime. Are there constraints, or do you have specific periods that you plan out, or?
We're expecting to go before the supervisors, and in the next month get an approval from them. So I would think that if we had everything lined up back to back, we'd be able to start this project in 2 or 3 months. Okay. So we would like to start this summer, yeah.
All right. So you can live with 1 month, but you want a decision by next time.
Would like to, yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So with the schedule, what we'd like would be the schedule as per the ordinance, the 1 tree, the 6 to 23 inches, 2 trees, and then what your proposal is, taking out the Norway maples under 20 inches.
Yeah.
So it's essentially 2 schedules, but we would like to see both. One that complies with the ordinance, and then what your proposed schedule is.
I didn't mean to make any bad feelings. I was under the impression that if we added some shade trees and if we preserved some trees along County Line Road, that we had a deal. And obviously we don't, but we'll do what we have to do. So I don't want any hard feelings. I was expecting one thing. I had great expectations.
Right.
Okay,
we understand.
thank you very much.
There's no hard feelings here either.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, Archbishop Carroll.
Are you walking out with the only copy of that she had, the report? Or you got it back?
I have one in my file, and that doesn't.
That's okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Would you like your other board? Thank you. If you could identify yourself, please.
Yeah, hi, I'm Mike Engel with Taylor Wiseman Taylor, and I was before the Shade Tree Commission in November with the same project, and I'll introduce the project and I'll explain the changes I made to the plans. This is a aerial view of the campus. I apologize, it's in black and white. It's a little difficult to see, but the school building is here. The subject of our application is to rebuild a soccer field and to improve a baseball field. The soccer field that we're wanting to improve or to rebuild is out front near Matson Ford Road, and the baseball field is the varsity baseball field behind the building, and it's located here. The soccer field is not level. It actually, in the width direction, drops 7 feet in elevation. So I have the plan that I presented before, and I'd like to show you that, and then quickly show you how I improved on what we discussed before. Incidentally, I have an NPDES permit for this project and a erosion sedimentation control approval from the Delaware County Conservation District. This is the plan.
What was that first one?
NPDES permit.
And I don't know what that is.
Okay, National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit. That is for earth-moving activities that would have runoff associated with them, and it's for projects that disturb more than 1 acre. And it's related to the Clean Water Act, and that's the basis for the need. This is the plan that I presented in November, and the problem that we identified with this layout was that the grading on the north side of the field came a little too close to a mature tree line here of oaks. So what we did to remediate that was we took the field and we moved it back 15 feet away from that tree line, and this is what we're submitting to address those concerns. This plan shows the furthest edge of the flat part of the field, 15 feet away from Matson Ford Road, and enabled us to stop our grading. I apologize if it's difficult to see the difference on the screen, but you can see that the straight lines are proposed grading and they tie into existing grading. Straight line proposed, tie into existing. We're able to put silt fence and tree protection fence in between the tree line and the root system and the proposed grading. I think it was successful. We were limited in how far we could bring the field away from Matson Ford Road because we have some mature trees up top, and we have a swale that directs grading or directs drainage around the field that came into play with our ability to move the field further from that tree line out by Matson Ford Road. We see one tree as potentially being impacted. It's a 24-inch ash, and I have it highlighted in black. The second part of our...
Now, the effect of moving this thing back is to reduce the slope there, or to simply shift the whole thing away from the tree line?
We shifted the whole thing. The grading's basically the same. We took the unit and moved it away.
15 feet.
15 feet away from where it was in November, and we were able to, I think, eliminate the potential fill on root systems.
Okay. Can you quickly go back to the other one?
Sure.
So I can see the grading lines, where they are with respect to the trees? Yeah, right there is the...
Would a split one? I can bring it up. Would a split view
Well,
work?
this works.
Okay.
But the important thing is that the grading starts to cut off within the drip lines of some of those trees, especially on the left-hand side, or our left-hand side. Does that make sense? And that when you go to the next one and you go to the new one, those have been moved out.
Yes. If I could pick one key contour line that we're proposing, the 424 really shows up as something that we're changing.
Okay. That's 424. Is that right?
That's 424 on the old plan, okay, and I'll highlight it on the new plan.
That works.
Ties in there.
If you'd be kind enough to move it down just a teeny bit so I can see it.
That way? Oh, yeah.
You can see that it's much farther away from the root structure on the trees.
It also, yeah, and it also ties in sooner. Formerly it tied in way down there. Now it ties into the existing grade.
Okay.
So it worked out pretty good, I think.
I'll look.
I'd like to see the tree line on that, if you would say your orientation to the southern section of the screen, if you kind of move it up to the original.
Move the original up?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, here, that's line. I'm looking at the lower left tree there now, new.
You mean on the bottom left corner?
Bottom left, it didn't impact that at all, those four trees there.
Oh, you're talking about these?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the bottom four trees, it didn't impact that, did it?
It's different grading, but we tweaked the contour lines, so we worked around it. Yeah, we definitely moved. We definitely moved the field closer to the trees on the south side, but we revised the grading so it still wouldn't impact it. And then we put the tree protection fencing in.
What's showing is the revised version, right?
This is what we're proposing now, yes.
Okay. Now, does that still seem like it's far enough away from the roots on the bottom left-hand side?
Yeah, I think on the Matson Ford Road side, the one ash that he has highlighted could be in question. The other one that could be in question is on the driveway side. There's one 30-inch oak that could also be in question. You've got a 1 in 30 scale, and you're changing your contour line to that oak within 1 inch.
It's about 22 feet from
Yeah.
the center line of that shape depicting the tree.
Yep.
To the where the grading ties in.
Yep. So they're the only two that I see could have some implications. But you've done a great job of pulling that away from that
Thank you.
tree line.
Does that address all your issues? That addresses all your issues, right? Except for that one poor black tree.
Yeah, no, it addresses the issues that we suggested the first time they were in, because they're right up against, they're almost underneath those trees. So.
And so, refresh my memory, is there a tree replacement schedule, or?
Well,
It seemed to me you were saying you were going to be planting trees anyway. Is that right? Or was I imagining that?
on this field, I'd sort of like to see how this goes. This ash, how it goes during the process. We'd like to save it. It's a nice mature tree, and you can see from the tree line's a nice buffer to Matson Ford Road, which the high school likes. And you can see just based on the layout of the trees on the plan, it'd be a big gap. So we want to try to work with keeping that, and not just say sign its death warrant or whatever, death notice. So I don't know how you deal with that.
Right. So with your plan, as currently shown, you're not taking down any trees.
Correct.
Therefore, you did not submit any replacement schedule.
Correct.
Right. We have concern about 2 trees. And in the tree replacement schedule, they would be each worth 2 trees for replacement.
Well, this would be 3. Oh, 30.
Is that
30. You're right. I was thinking 36.
Am I right that it's
You're
each?
right.
So it'd be 4 trees. If these trees die, and trees that are impacted on their roots can take up to 10 years before they actually die. You've got a big campus there. It would be great if you'd plant 4 trees somewhere on the campus, and then I would feel good about this plan. I think you've done a great job. I don't know how you could do it any differently without impacting the trees. So it's not a criticism. You've done a very good job in listening to what we were saying. So I'm just concerned about those 2 trees. It would be 4 trees. My guess is that in the next year you'd probably be planting 4 trees on campus.
Well, we probably will when you look at the baseball field, which is my next.
Oh.
So
The other shoe.
Okay.
it's the other shoe, yeah. In fact, maybe we just
okay.
revisit this
All right,
after I
so-
present the baseball field.
So I'm jumping ahead, all right?
No, I mean, you can look at it as two projects or one, but... Okay. The object of this project is to extend the outfield. Right now, the existing fence line for the home run is right there. It's about 270 feet to the home run fence on the left field side, 327 on the right field side. So what the high school would like to do is get fill in. It's very steep drop off now. Fill in behind that fence, and then relocate it and give it a more of a symmetrical appearance. And I'll draw the what would be the wish of the proposed fence line. So that that involves pushing soil back 40 to 50 feet. Now, this is the same scope of work that I had before, but what we agreed on is that we would go out and do a tree survey. And that's what I'm prepared to present tonight, is the same plan, but with the impacted trees on it. We did a tree survey we have land surveyors that we employ, and I used the same format as with the soccer field. The impacted trees are shown with a black cloud, okay? And on the bottom left-hand corner of the plan, I have a schedule of those trees, because it gets kind of congested, even though this is a fairly large-scale plan. The text gets kind of congested. There's 33 impacted trees, and 29 of them are under 24 inches. 3 of them are between 24 inches and 35 inches, and 1 of them is 36 inches. So that would be on a compensatory, straight calculation out of the ordinance. That would be 29 plus 6. 29 plus 6 plus 3, 38 trees. 2, 4, 6, 38 trees. Now, with the soccer field, I think some of those trees that are quote-unquote impacted are really at the toe of the slope that we're filling, and they're at the limits of the grading. And I didn't want to prepare a straight compensatory calculation until I spoke with you about this, because I don't think they'll all die per se. Some of them we have to take out in order to fill and compact the soil. Clearly, the ones at the top of the slope or the limit of the flat area, they'll have to be removed if we wanted to do this work. So I'm asking the commission of their thoughts on the trees that are at the limits of the grading. Can we leave them standing and reevaluate their health at a later date? There's probably half a dozen.
Where do you plan to plant the new trees? Just further past? I mean, where?
Somewhere on the campus, I can't say. I had a conversation with the school principal. His name is Father Casey. He's not opposed to compensatory trees, not at all. He understands the situation here. And he didn't have a specific location, but he doesn't have a problem with the planting of trees. It's a big campus, like somebody said earlier.
Now, for my interest, for the other members here of the commission, you've got some space right down at the bottom towards the middle where you have a number of trees, but there's empty space in there.
This here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would we be meeting the requirements of the ordinance but not actually doing anything we intend by having him put some of the compensatory trees down in there? I mean, if the objective is to create a canopy over, just sort of push them in the corner, doesn't really seem like it's doing what we intend for it to do, even if it
I'm not sure if you get your value down there.
Well,
this
that's
is
my point.
The point is that you don't want that, you don't suggest that they be there.
I am asking whether we as a commission would find that to be an acceptable place to put them. And I get the impression the answer is no. But, but I thought I'd ask the question. Okay.
And my feeling would be that, they'd plant them on the campus, somewhere on the campus. So, yes, and so if they wanted to plant some there, I would not be opposed to that either. I don't know that site, but I'm not going to say don't plant any trees there either. So.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Right. We don't always, we almost never decide on where the trees are going, as long as they're being replaced,
In speaking with Father Casey, principal of the high school, he said they have a pretty active environmental sciences class or course in the school, and they would integrate the planting of the trees into that. Not that the kids would necessarily plant them, but the process, they would work with the kids on the process.
I mean, they'd be the ones to select where they would go, to some extent.
Yeah.
They
Maybe
use
they'd
it
like-
as a teaching tool, basically.
Yeah. Observe the installation, prepping the hole, mulching, maybe if staking is required.
That doesn't answer
because there's a lot of soil being moved there. It's about in the greatest, it's probably 10 or 11 feet of fill, if I'm understanding that right. Yeah, that's. I would feel best asking for compensatory trees for the entire grouping, and if the school is agreeable, then that's set. And then we would also ask that they be trees that the majority of the trees be ones that become big trees, big shade trees, as opposed to small flowering trees.
We have a preferred list. Is that correct in the ordinance?
Yes, yes. One other issue is that you might want to identify the genus and species, because I'm seeing a lot of maples in here.
Okay. Yeah. In terms of invasives,
Perhaps.
which could reduce the compensatory number?
Perhaps.
Perhaps.
Not as of this evening. If you'd like a decision this evening, no. And since they're not listed as, they're just, so, and then in terms of whether the trees are cut down, I'm all right with them leaving some trees if they're not unsafe, if you've wanted to leave them, but we would still want the compensatory trees planted for them.
I get it. This is my first time through the Shade Tree Commission, and I don't know how to close the loop in terms of what is approval and what.
Okay, this is more or less what's considered a conditional approval. So in essence, we're going to ask you to generate a genus and species listing, not just maple, sycamore, but actually what kind of maple, what kind of sycamore. Secondly, those 4 trees that are from the soccer field, we're going to ask to be part of your compensatory planting, in addition to whatever compensatory planting is resultant from your baseball field. So say if there's 38 trees that are compensatory from the baseball field, there'll be 42 trees, including the soccer field.
I understand.
Okay? And then the other condition would be if there are trees that you feel are safe that could remain after you do your 10-foot soil fill, we're willing to suggest those trees can remain as long as they're compensated for if they die.
Okay.
Did I capture it right?
Yes, except I question whether they have to go through and do the species. We haven't asked for that on other plans. And if they're willing to accept our judgment on that, I don't see that there's any reason for them to identify down to species, in that we normally haven't been asking that.
The ordinance requires genus and species, if I'm not mistaken.
But we...
Now, in some cases, we definitely have requested that.
Okay. Okay, as one member here, I just don't see that, I don't need to see it down to species level on this in the...
Well, I'm recommending it because it might be to their advantage.
And I'm saying that we're dealing with the ordinance as it stands, and we felt that we cannot amend the ordinance on a case-by-case basis, and therefore we're asking for the compensatory trees, including for the maples, whatever species those are. And I think it just colors the issue to think that there would be any other solution for them.
Do we need to see a rough outline of approximately where the new trees are going to be going on campus, approximately, or we don't need to know that?
Yeah, I think if they have some broad landscape plan they have in mind, it wouldn't be a bad idea to run it by us, but that's not my bigger concern. Yeah, and I think I need to review the ordinance, because I think there's something in there that says it's supposed to be identified by species, genus and species, but we'll get back to you on that one.
Well, I mean, if they would like to, but we have approved plans where it's only been the common names and not even a complete common name as it is here. It seems to me if they're agreed to plant 42 trees, then I'm fine with them not identifying them down to species.
They can identify. We're just not going to change the outcome of our decision here tonight. Is that correct, Howard?
I'm saying it will not. It
Right.
won't change
That's what I'm
my
saying.
decision. Yeah.
Recap. For my own sake, recap. The soccer field is okay. That's
Soccer
good.
field's okay, but 4 compensatory trees need to be planted.
In anticipation that at least 2 of the trees that they have there are going to die. Correct. Okay. Then, in terms of the trees here, they can save whatever trees they want to, but we're still going to require that they provide compensatory trees for all of them?
Yes.
All the ones that are in black on this thing here. So they can, theoretically, they can cut all of them down. They can choose to save them, but they don't have to save them. But they have to plant, if there are 38 trees, I don't know what the number is, then they have to plant 38 trees, or if they're the largest size, in accordance with the ordinance.
Right.
Even if they're Norway maples, which we find objectionable, but, and that's the decision, right?
Yes.
Cool.
Okay, I understand. One more question. So the high school plans to do this work when they get free dirt. When someone needs to, dump
Provide
dirt, they
fill,
have access
yeah.
on their site. We almost had a deal with Agnes Irwin. That didn't quite work out. It would have been great because it's right next door. How do we have the green light to do that? Since I guess we have to get our grading permit approved. Is this decision enough to move that?
Yes.
Then how would I assure you, that my client understands the parameters and to make you feel solid, or whatever the word would be?
Yeah, again, this is a conditional approval,
So the township will enforce it then?
and
Okay,
the township
that
will
works.
enforce it.
Okay. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. What? Oh, okay.
And then just to explain why we're saying you can leave the trees in place, but we're still on compensatory trees. I think you do understand it, but just to make sure the whole commission understands it, we think the trees will die, and therefore we want the compensation for it. But if they don't want to take them down, as long as they're not a safety hazard to somebody, then that's fine. And in 10 years, if they're still alive, you can come back and tell me
Cut
you
the
told
tree
me
down
so.
we planted, right? Yeah, I mean, we'll probably leave as many as we can because it's a financial thing. You pay money to cut a tree down, plus there's a buffer benefit because the railroad tracks are here. So we'll take down as few as we can, and I guess hope they live, but we understand the compensatory calculation.
Now, I do have a question for, again, I'm an electrical engineer, and I'm a representative of the Planning Commission here. I'm not as up on trees. If they put this grading out there further, would planting the trees there actually help hold the grading in place? I know that I'm electrical, not a civil engineer, but
Yeah.
but it would seem to me that the root structure of some of those trees might actually be beneficial in terms of or am I?
Yes and no. If you fill it in and the tree dies and blows over because some of the,
Roots.
feeder roots are dead, it's less stable, and you could tear up a big hunk of hill there, and then you have more erosion. So it's best to address them when you're doing the grading, take them out, and when we fill, we'll be compacting the earth.
But after that's done, planting the trees would be after
Oh,
you've
no.
compacted it and so forth. No.
We'll use seeding back there.
All right.
Probably like a meadow mix type seed. Yeah. Okay. Because the branches and the home run fence, and you don't want that conflict in the future. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there any old business? As part of the new business, just like to announce that due to the generosity of Chanticleer Foundation, Mayfield Gardens has begun to replace some of the street trees in the township due to the rather mild winter that we've had, and we're excited to hear that process has had a kickstart due to Mother Nature's kindness. Other than that, I have no other business. Are there any hazardous tree reports? Okay. Well, thank you very much.